Wednesday night, a week early for Liquid this week. And oh boy, I have my other stuff on. Sorry, 1 second. I had my YouTube. I was watching my YouTube on myself. So it's Liquid Lips. We're a week early this week because we have a really cool event coming up next Friday that we'll talk about. But I'm here with Amine. Amine, can you tell me how to pronounce your last name so I don't do it right? So I don't do it wrong.
Karaoud.
Karaoud. Okay, that's what I was going to guess. Amine is the founder and all the things for Old Louisville company in Louisville, Kentucky. He has so much history with his brand and he has so much experience in the industry. And I'm really excited for everybody to kind of see what Old Lou is all about. Amine, thank you for being here this week. We're so excited to have you. I think just my small little tour that I did with you in your new facility was so interesting. And there's so much history in the building that you're in now. And I'll let you tell that story, but I'm excited for our club members and for everyone to hear it tonight and then to really experience it on Friday. So if you want to just start by kind of telling us a little bit about you, a little bit about how you got into the industry. I know you've got a little bit of history there, and then we'll kind of just roll with it.
Sounds good. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate the invite. Glad to be here to share some of my story and, you know, how I joined the beautiful whiskey industry. So Amine Karaoud, the founder of Old Louisville Whiskey Co. A lot of people ask me, well, how did you get here and why and all those, you know, typical questions. So I mean, honestly, it's kind of interesting how my journey or my career journey led me to this. But I think when I look back is working in the service industry and restaurant business back in 2003, when I first moved to Kentucky, is what really got me interested in the spirit. If you can't tell by my accent, I'm not from Kentucky. So I grew up actually drinking wine and beer. But when I moved to Kentucky in 2003, I got introduced to bourbon, and that's what kind of my journey started there. Fast forward, I got an engineering degree, working for corporate, decided to move to another corporate, and I ended up at Brown-Forman. So I was an engineer for Brown-Forman. From there, I decided corporate is not for me, and I bought a liquor store in Old Louisville and quit the corporate life and, you know, the hustle and bustle of corporate America. So I think that kind of like was the base of my intro into the industry. And then obviously running a liquor store got me really into it, learning a lot more in depth about not just bourbon, but all things alcoholic consumption, you name it, from beers to wine to fortified wine to spirit, all kind of spirit. So I ended up learning more than I need to. And I was like, well, I'm in Kentucky. I run a liquor store. I run a retail shop. I opened the second one downtown Louisville in 2016. And I was like, I'm ready to have my own brand. So that was, you know, an idea or a dream, and then jumped on it. Slowly build my inventory level of barrels, and then when everything got at least to 7 years or older, we launched a brand, me and my wife, in 2022.
So there's lots of different ways to barrel and age your bourbon, and everything is a little bit of different. So everything that you've done, you've aged yourself?
Yeah, so most of the stuff that we have released so far has been aged, distilled by different distilleries, but aged by us for at least 7.5 years.
Okay.
That's what I meant. Never bottled anything younger than 7.5. So that's why we waited, I think, from the first barrels we purchased in 2015 to the first bottle we released in 2022 was a little bit over 7.5 years.
Okay. And when you started, were you like all in and got a warehouse and whatever, or were you doing garage aging like a lot of people start, or what did that look like at first?
No, so what I did is I sourced my barrels, spec'd my oak barrels to my liking, left them at the distillery where we source from, whether it's MGP, Barstown Bourbon Company, or Wilderness Trail. Those are the only three companies or distilleries we source from. And left them there until we bonded a warehouse in 2021. We moved some of the barrels in 2021 to our old facility, and we started bottling. Then slowly we got start to grow, and we outgrew the first facility. And now at the facility, actually visited me a month or two ago.
Yeah. So you 7.5 years is where you start aging it, and then you what after that, you're how did you, I guess, kind of just tell us about the process of picking what you're gonna, how you're gonna double barrel, how long you're gonna keep them in. I think that your product is really a superior bourbon. I mean, it's so good, and you can tell by how fast it comes off the shelf and how hard it is to find sometimes, and also just by tasting it. And so, what do you think you're doing differently in that space that everybody else isn't doing?
So we try to focus on barrels. 70 up to 80% of the bourbon flavor comes out of the barrels, the actual oak. So a lot of the distilleries that we source from, they're pretty good sized distilleries. So a lot of times they use the average barrel available in the market. We're a lot smaller producers, so what we do is we buy more expensive barrels. By saying that, it means the barrels or the staves are aged outside for at least a year, versus the average barrels in the industry are aged 3 to 6 months outside, seasoned outside.
Mm-hmm.
But typically, you hear the term air seasoned or air dried seasoned oak. So we try to do 12 to 24 months. Most of our barrels are 12, 18, and 24 months air seasoned oak. So that gives our whiskey, even though we're sourcing it from, like everybody else, from NGP or Barstown Bourbon Company or whatever the source is available out there, but we buy better quality whiskey barrels to make sure the profile and the yield of the barrels are better than the average out there in the market. Mainly is that's the big thing that we do different. And obviously we don't bottle anything young, so everything is at least 7.5 year. Most of our stuff in the last 2 years has been 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. So
And I, so, and something that you just said is totally new to me. And open air aging. So they're aging the barrels before totally empty, is what you're saying, right?
so
And
the staves that we use or cooperages use to construct the barrel, they're
tipsy. See,
they're typically are oh, Tipsy joining us. Hey
oh yeah,
Tipsy.
oh yeah,
He's one of my best customers, if not my best customers in Indiana. So
oh yeah. I'm glad he's so close to me.
I know. Well, next time we do an event there, we'll definitely make sure you're around.
For sure.
So, but by saying air dried seasoned oak, that means the staves that we construct the barrel with, they sit outside in the open air in the element for at least 12 months. And that does multiple things, but mainly it leaches out bed flavors in oak, and actually just like smoking meat, barbecue meat, right? You can't use cut a tree and go smoke meat with it. It's fresh, it's green. You don't want to do that with whiskey either.
Okay.
So you want to mill the tree, stave it, and leave it outside seasoning for 12 plus months ideally. That's where you get the best flavors out of the oak.
Okay.
So, but typically the longer you age it outside, the more expensive the barrels are, because that's cash sitting for cooperages, for the mills. That's just cash sitting, not generating money. So you pay for that quality up front, but you get it at the back end after the maturation. And typically, if you're putting a good distillate, and the three distillery I mentioned, I believe in their quality and consistency. So if you add the big component, which is good quality barrels, there is no losing at the end of the journey. of the whiskey aging in those barrels. So.
That's really interesting, and I think that, I mean, it shows the product prepared. And are you doing any aging with like wine barrels or anything like that? You do anything like that? And is that the same process, or is it a different process if it's already a wine cast or a sherry cast or whatever it is? Is it different?
So we have done some finishes. Uh, it's not really our focus for the brand. It
Okay.
is popular with a lot of consumers, so we've done some fun project. We've done a maple cask, we've done a Madeira brandy from Spain, PX sherry cask from Spain. We've done a cognac, but these are like 2 to 4 barrels max a year, so they're very very limited. I would say less than 2% of our production is finished product, maybe 1%.
Okay.
So
I was just curious if it was the same process like that too. Um, So we just talked about Tipsy. If people don't know, Tipsy is he's a liquor store owner just north of Auburn, Indiana, which is where I live, which is so wonderful. I can get there in 20 minutes. And he is, I think the goal is doing like over 50 barrels this year, single barrels. And what's interesting about single barrels is the programs are always so different. And so can you tell us a little bit about your single barrel program, how you select the barrels that would be considered single barrels, how that process is? Are you going to stores or whatever? Are they coming down? Like, what does that look like with Old Lou as far as
yeah.
goes?
So honestly, most of our growth has been very organic, word to mouth. We're very, small operation. Um, so most of our single barrels have been obviously we're in Louisville, Kentucky, so we are in the hub of the whiskey industry.
Yeah.
We are in the mecca of bourbon, so we do have. Uh, we're very lucky to be in this location because people reach out to us. Or we have the bourbon tourism, people coming from all over the country, not sometimes from overseas as well, just to do the bourbon trail, and they hear about the brands and the tours available in the market, and we get a lot of connection and networking. So most of our single barrels has been very organic reach, either us reaching to them, or most of the time is retailer or groups have heard about the brand, or they've seen it in their market, or they've seen it online, or something like live stream like this, uh, and they reach out to us. So we have plenty of good barrels available for picks, anywhere from 9 to 12 years old on the bourbon side. So we have plenty also of mash bills. So we have traditional mash bills or common mash bills that you see a lot of NDPs or non-distiller producers, as we call them in the industry. Uh, and we also have our own mash bills that we distilled 10 years ago from MGP. So we have at least 6 different mash bills to choose from. Uh, 3 different distilleries. So we have a lot of good variety. So for retailers or groups that are looking for something interesting to do, we have something that it's not every NDP has it. So
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I know that he's got 3 different barrels, I think. And
yeah.
when I visited, he started me right off the bat with an 11-year, and I was like, I can't have anything else. I also got to go to the roof. I couldn't have too much; it would fall off the roof. But
That's right.
speaking about your new space, so you're in the old Seagram's, one of the old Seagram's buildings on that plantation in that part of Louisville. So, I mean, of all the distilleries, you ended up in one of those buildings. Like, when there's some cool stuff about your building that we're going to learn about also on Friday. Not everybody a big part of what we're doing is trying to expose people to your brand and your story. Here, a lot of these people aren't going to Louisville, so there's no spoilers, so you can tell all the things if you want to.
Yeah, yeah.
Why that building, and what are some features of that building that you love, and what does that growth look like in that space?
Yeah. So I've been chasing this building for over 10 years.
Mm.
So Seagram's had an operation here in Louisville, Kentucky for about 50 years or less. They started this campus back in the 30s, right after Prohibition. So in 1933, they broke ground on 38 acres, I believe, or 40 acres. They built a large distillery. At that time, was the most modern, technologically, you name it, advanced distillery in the globe. They operated there under DSP Kentucky 37. It used to be called Calvert and Kessler Distillery, and they operated there until 1983. It was 8 brick houses. One of them is Warehouse F that I purchased last year, a year ago, last March. So it has a lot of history, ties to the whiskey industry. Obviously, it was built to be a rick house, and the type of warehouse. There's a couple types of warehouses. This is what we call city warehouses. So they're built out of concrete and bricks. So they have a very, very interesting microclimate versus the regular rick houses that you see in Kentucky with sheet metal. So they have very consistent uh, temperature. They don't fluctuate a lot. And these warehouses are known for, if you look in Louisville and Shively area, most of the distilleries, the heritage distillers have been around, or they've been around in that area. They all have brick and concrete buildings. So very unique profile. Obviously has a lot of history tied to the whiskey industry. We source from MGP, which is the old Seagrams in Lawrenceburg, Indiana.
Mhm.
So it was like a dream come true to be able to actually get the building renovated and have my brand in that building that has ties. The name has ties to Louisville. The building has ties to the American whiskey history. So
And the federal government, right?
yes, yeah. I showed you around where the old IRS sign is still in the building. Yeah,
Mhm. So
back
cool.
in the 30s and all the way I think to 60s or 70s, they had an IRS agent on site for each bonded warehouse, so controlling what's coming in, what's coming out, because that's how the government makes money on production of alcohol. So
Mhm. So that and it's cool. You'll be able to see it when you go on the tour, but in the
yeah,
building, it's really nice, and it's still got the old barrel tracks in it. The original barrel, or I don't know if that's really what they're called, but the old barrel tracks are
the
in there,
Bear Ricks.
or whatever. Yeah, whatever it's called. Well,
Yeah,
the on the ground where they roll the barrels, those like or whatever they are.
the track.
Yeah. It's cool. It's really interesting. Those old warehouses are so cool because you're just walking around in history. Everyone's been making whiskey in these buildings for a long time. So I think that that's really awesome. It's clear that like history is a big part of why you love the industry so much, and your name Old Louisville, does that have to do with that as well? I mean, is there a meaning behind that specifically, or is it kind
Yeah. So actually, Old Louisville is a neighborhood that saved me from corporate.
of,
So I was an engineer for corporate. I was unhappy with my lifestyle. So I decided to invest in some rental properties in Old Louisville. So Old Louisville, if you're not familiar with it, is the historic district in Louisville, Kentucky. It's the original suburb of the city. So it's south of downtown and north of University of Louisville campus. So it's beautiful, historic Victorian home neighborhood. It's the largest Victorian home neighborhood in the country. So I bought a couple of rental properties, and then the third or fourth property I purchased, it was a liquor store. So I was able to purchase that liquor store and leave corporate. So I made some money or made a living in Old Louisville. I learned most of my knowledge running a liquor store in Old Louisville. And then I had to sell everything in Old Louisville besides liquor store to actually fund the project or the brand Old Louisville.
mm-hmm.
And shockingly, the name was never been used in the whiskey industry, and the trademark was available. So we were able to actually name our brand Old Louisville, and
That's wild. That it's never
it's
been used.
wild, never been used. So that's actually the history behind the name. Is more of what I earned there in that neighborhood and what I learned
Yeah.
running the liquor store. So
Was there anybody specifically when you're in this journey of starting this distillery that you kind of was like a mentor that you looked up to in this process? I mean, how did you just learn to figure it out? I know you worked at Brown Foreman, but you can't learn all the things by just having a, a job there
yeah, yeah,
too. So was there anybody that you kind of, or any brand specifically that you really kind of,
yeah. I honestly, um, I can't think of anybody. I don't have a mentor. I just kind of self-learned slowly. I read a lot, so when I got interested, I start, asking questions. I was running a liquor store, so every day we see salespeople, we see new brands, we see, distributors coming to present new bourbon or new wine in the market. So I got to talk to a lot of owners, a lot of founders, and we were able to learn a lot from those brands, the good things they've done, the success stories, and their mistakes. So we try to avoid a lot of the big mistakes small guys do by just reading and hearing their stories and why they're successful. And so that's kind of like how I learned everything, is just by asking questions.
yeah. And I think that to be able to be okay with asking those questions or whoever you need to,
Yeah, yeah,
too prideful to do that. So, I mean, that's the only way you're going to learn, right?
yeah, absolutely.
I'll ask you about a million questions on the tour next week. So remember that. Remember that's why
Let's,
you.
let's do it. I'm actually gonna share my screen,
Oh, okay.
and I just googled the Seagrams in Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
just gonna show you guys some pictures online here. So let's see, share screen. All right,
Get them on.
we're allowing everything.
I don't know all the tech stuff. I just sit here and talk, and I have somebody else working in the background to figure it out.
Oh, nice. All right, so do you guys see the Google search here?
Yeah, it's coming up here. Oh, yep. Yeah, we can see it.
So this is a, let's see if I can find an aerial view of the whole campus. So this is actually a poster that we actually have a copy of in the warehouse.
Mhm.
So this is, let's see if I can enlarge that. You guys see that?
Yes, that looks great. Yep.
Yeah. So this is a large distillery built between 1933 and 1937. This is executive offices. Behind it, there's more offices here. And then, as you see here, there's four warehouses on the north side, and there's four here, but you don't see the seventh one. So this may be the last one they build after this picture was taken or drawing was taken. So we purchased, and we are in warehouse F right now.
Okay.
So, but the whole campus still exists, still standing. The warehouses were designed to hold 54,000 barrels each. So there's 100,000 square feet spread out on between 6 stories, 6 floors. But this is where we're located, literally on 7 and Central in Louisville, Kentucky.
That's
So
so interesting. And
yeah.
are you going to get 50? It's 5,400 barrels or 1,000 in each one of those? 54,000.
Oh, well, hopefully my kids can grow that business into that. I
Fill
want it
that,
to be,
fill that building.
yeah.
That's awesome. You'll probably have to stop. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing.
Oh, that's okay. That's cool. I'm glad that was a great visual. And
Yeah.
also, I sometimes if you're there on the right day, I'm pretty sure next Friday is not the right day, but you can go on the roof and you can see all these other distilleries in the, what's the stat you told me? If you're up there, you can, if you're on any of those buildings, really, right? If you're on the roof of any of those, you can see.
Yeah, so you can see the entire city, but most importantly is you can see all the heritage distillers. So
Okay.
Brown Foreman is right behind us, the large distillery, Michter's, Stitzelweller within, you can see it from a distance. The old Bernheim now is Heaven Hill. The old Yellowstone, National Distillers. Uh,
That's a good question, Gillette. Have you found anything cool left behind at that campus when you acquired the building? What's your favorite?
no, unfortunately, Seagrams have stopped operation in 1983 in that entire campus. So my building, that particular building, have had, I would say, a handful of ownerships and different businesses that operated there from 1984 to 2025 last year. So that's what, 40 plus years. No, unfortunately, the only thing left there is that rick system on the sixth floor.
I was gonna say you still have
Uh,
an original Rick system. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
right.
that's about it. Yeah, I wish I was, left some barrels there, but yeah.
You just find one. I mean, we've talked to people where they find them like in a corner in a parking lot before. You never know what you might uncover one of these days. You never know.
I
And
need to dig further.
just say, "Oh, that's my barrel. Sorry, it rolled away."
Yeah,
Yeah.
the lost barrels.
Oh yeah, yeah. Hey, listen, those end up being pretty good. You never know. So what was if you're not drinking Old Lou, what are you drinking and what do you reach for normally? Is it if you even I mean, are you constantly drinking your own stuff? Are you
Yeah,
everybody has a
I
different
honestly right now, unless somebody brings me something to share, I don't really look elsewhere because I'm spending 10, 12 hours in the warehouse every day. I'm surrounded by my barrels, different expressions, different ages, different mash bills. Really, I don't, by the time I leave work, I'm not chasing pours. I mean, I do have my pours at home,
Yeah, sure.
but typically no. But I mean, historically, I enjoyed anything good. Like, you pour me good whiskey, I'm gonna drink it. Even if I don't need one,
I
I
was say
usually drink it.
I heard that like tasting doesn't count. We hear that a lot on these trips. Like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
not drinking, but tasting doesn't count. We gotta do that. So I
If
mean,
you spit, it doesn't count, but if you're swallowing, it counts.
it might count. Yeah, that's good to remember.
Yeah.
If you so in the process of your brand, you've seen a lot of growth and a lot of change and all these things. What do you think has been the hardest part? Is it aging the product? Is it marketing and finding the customers? Is it getting it out there? Like what's the hardest part about it, do you think? And in your because you've done a lot of growth, especially in the
Yeah.
last years, and then moving forward over the next 5 years. What does that what do you
Yeah. So I would say, in general, in the whiskey industry, the hardest thing is patient. You got to be patient.
think? Yeah.
That is the toughest thing because, when I launched, well, I had hundreds of barrels uh, before I launched my brand, and I've seen people making a lot of money, and I'm talking like millions. But I had to constrain myself not to launch a brand until I have aged stock because I knew that selling young whiskey is short-lived profit.
Hmm.
And if you can sell young whiskey once or twice, but people will not come back to that brand.
Hmm.
So that's probably the toughest thing. Nowadays, the toughest thing is actually finding good distributors as well. It's very tough to find a good partner to distribute your product in certain market, uh, give you or give your brand attention that it needs as a small producers. Because at the end of the day, the whiskey industry is a very mature industry. It's nothing new. We haven't discovered something new here. It's not new technology. We've been making whiskey as humans for good 500 years. Um, Obviously, in the US, we've been making it for 250 years, but the Europeans made whiskey before us, and the Middle Eastern made spirit before us long time ago. So it's nothing new. Like, it's you either love it, and you try to put something good, or it's a tough business. So distributorship out there, it's very difficult to find the right partners because you're competing against the big guys. And I'm talking like these guys can just
Right.
bury you with marketing money,
Yeah.
where we're just counting on organic growth and social media and simple stuff to get the word out, right? It's That's probably the most challenging thing for most small brands, I believe. So
Yeah, I think that there's a lot. I mean, you're putting all your time and energy into your product, and then you have to market it yourself also. And social requires so much organic marketing. I mean, that's what it is. People aren't just Googling, oh, what's a distillery in Kentucky? Because
yeah,
5,000 of them that'll show up. And so it's making sure yours sticks out the
yeah,
most. And
yeah.
I know that tradition is a really big deal when you're innovating and growing, let's say looking into the future. How do you make sure that you're keeping the balance between the tradition that you have, which is not doing there's brands like you said that are doing a bunch of finishing and whatever, and just making sure you're constantly putting out new stuff that people want, but also sticking true to your roots and tradition. Is there any big guidelines that you just kind of stay right inside, or you just figure it out
Yeah,
as
I
you
mean, any whiskey producers or any uh, person that in the industry, we know what it takes to make a good whiskey.
go?
So quality is the only thing that pretty much is a stamp that uh, we'll never like close an eye and be like, well,
Let's just bottle it and see what happens.
let's bottle it, right? Because at the end of the day, that's gonna end up in somebody's bar, somebody's house, somebody's party, and if they have a bad taste, they'll never go back to it.
Yeah.
And trust me, there's a lot of good options out there. We're not the only one that producing good whiskey. There's a lot of good options there. There's a lot of good whiskeys. So that's definitely the thing. We'll never,
Compromise that.
compromise quality. Quality is number one. Like it doesn't matter.
Do you try every barrel? Like how are
Absolutely.
you do everything? Okay. So you're the
Yeah.
last. If you don't like it, it doesn't matter if somebody else does, or
If
there's
if
some
I don't
some that if
if I
somebody,
can't drink it,
yeah. Well, and
if I if I can't drink it, it won't get bottled.
I think that
And
we've talked to some people that have been like, oh, I know, even if I don't love it, I go to my staff if it's something that they love, if it's not that, so I'm just
yeah.
interested on,
No, I mean I don't have a big staff. I have one full time, one part time, and your palate is not sharp every day. So some days you want to get a second opinion.
Mhm.
Some days you want to just sit back and not taste or not make a decision on quality or profiles.
This is a good point too. Why you think people get different tasting notes when they're sampling whiskey?
Yeah. So my belief about human palate in general, not just whiskey. I mean, it can be beer, it can be wine. It's really interesting how different people can actually taste different things in the same whiskey or the same wine. And it goes down to how complex the whiskey is. Most barrels have over 200 different flavor profiles. So it's really, really difficult for a normal person that's not professionally trained to pick up those flavors. So what you're left with as a consumer or a drinker is what's your diet like? Like the fruit you're familiar with, the food, the spices you grew up with, the smells, the aroma that you actually familiar with them. You're gonna pick them up first, and then the rest of the aroma and rest of the flavors. If there is a fruit note in the whiskey that fruit you never had as a person, there's no way you're gonna recognize it. Your brain is not gonna recognize it. So typically, that's how you see people picking up the same whiskey and they pick up completely different flavors. And I laugh because some people start to argue, but in reality, is nobody's wrong. Both of those flavors most likely in that sip. They just some of them are more familiar with certain flavors or certain aroma, and some they're not. And typically, it's your diet. What are you familiar with? You're gonna pick up first.
It's just like, I think someone described it once. It's like, if you have, let's say you go to Florida and you eat alligator, if you've only ever had chicken, you're gonna relate it to that, or whatever. But if you've had more diverse things, you can talk about those other things. But if you're, it's kind of that same concept of whatever you've been introduced to
Yeah,
is.
yeah. So most flavors that we taste in whiskey, most of us we actually familiar with them. We
Mhm.
consume them every day in our diet. They're just in different format, and typically we don't get that complex sip of 200 different flavors plus 200. I mean, some barrels have 230 flavors, and these are not made up flavors. They're you analyze the liquid in lab, you see a chain of molecules that look like orange peel, or cinnamon, or fig, or passion fruit, or strawberries, or cherry. So they're not made up. That's why when we smell the glass and then we take a sip, we recognize handful of flavors, and typically the one that are more dominant, we're gonna taste them and smell them. The others are gonna take a lot more effort to actually pick them up.
Mm.
Either your palate is really sophisticated, or you're putting a lot of effort and you're closing your eyes and you're trying to figure out the extra flavors. So depends how crazy or geeky you want to get into it. I would say just pick up the glass, and if you like it, enjoy it, and leave the flavor profiles to the professionals.
Yeah, or the people that think they're professionals too, some of the I think that that's nice. It's nice to go in. I feel like I'm learning still about all this stuff. And at first, it's really intimidating. You go in and all these other people that have been doing a long time are like, oh, I picked up this and that. And I'm like, I picked up bourbon and I know that I like it, or it's hotter or whatever. And so to know that we're going into, we're going to taste 6 barrels, if I understand it, on next Friday, and to know that it's
Yeah,
like, it's okay not to know everything that everybody knows, and just to get to enjoy it and know that it's just good stuff is really cool. Yeah. And I think
yeah.
that makes the experience different, because nobody's ever wrong about what they're tasting,
No, I mean it boils down to you like it or you don't.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would say that's.
Where does your proof point usually sit? Like on average, do you have something, are you always putting stuff in the barrel at a certain proof, or you just,
Oh, so we have barrels. The stuff that's aged close to 12 year, they're all at 120, anywhere from 9 years to 12 years old. Uh, Most of them they're put in the barrel at 120. That's a standard entry proof for MGP. Uh, and then we have some 10 years old that we put in the barrel. This is our custom mash bill. We put them in the barrel 115 proof. We have some barrels that we source from Wilderness Trail that went into the barrel 110 proof.
that's a really good question. Does your proof go up or down in the barrel, since you use drier barrels that are air dry, are aged longer before you put it in there, so they have less
Yeah.
water staves, or what do you think about that?
So typically the proof goes up and down. It depends on the microclimate of the warehouse, not the actual barrels.
Mm.
So if you have humidity, a lot of humidity in your warehouse, the proof is gonna drop, because what happened is as the whiskey ages, if you have a lot of humidity in your warehouse, the air is saturated with H2O, so the water don't evaporate out of the barrels, don't escape the barrel. So typically the alcohol molecules are 6 times bigger than water molecules. They start to leave the barrel, so you lose proof. And then most likely you see these in the uh, first floor of most rick houses, because all the moisture is on that first floor. And then as you go up, heat rises and there's a drier climate on the second and further up floors. You typically lose water, so you gain proof. So it doesn't the age of the staves or the seasonality of the stave does not affect the actual proof going up or down. So just to give you an idea, all the staves, whether they're seasoned outside for 3 months or 3 years, they end up in a kiln just to be consistent with the moisture level for construction of barrels. That way they don't deviate on you when the weather changes. So even the seasoned oak that's only been outside for 3 months, it does go through a kiln process, and then they drop the moisture level at the same moisture level that the staves have been aged for 3 years.
It's really the
But
science is wild. You think like you just put the whiskey in the barrel and it'll do its thing.
yeah,
Like
yeah. But most of our barrels actually drop in the proof because we age our barrels in those concrete warehouses.
that's what I was gonna
Uh,
ask. That makes a
yeah,
difference too.
it does. It does because there's a microclimate that doesn't allow it to get a lot of heat, so it stays constant. And as far as the first floor, so the warehouse you saw and you visited me at, those are identical to MGP warehouses in Lawrenceburg, Indiana.
Okay.
So you're gonna have a very close microclimate, identical to what you see at MGP. So
And if you're getting some of your, your whiskey from there that then you're aging and it's not changing, atmospheres or
yeah, the climate is not changing much. Very, very similar. So
Harold wanted to know, do you have a favorite cooperage when you're getting your barrels and what kind of profile are you looking for?
yeah, so honestly, I don't have favorite cooperage. Most cooperages that are building barrels for the whiskey industry are more than qualified to build barrels. Uh, Obviously, everybody uses pretty much most of the cooperages. It all goes down to your spec as a whiskey maker. How long you want to season your oak, what profile are you trying to achieve, and how you want to char your barrels. So to answer Harold's question is what we do different on our barrels. So we ask for 12 months minimum, but then we toast the staves before we char them. So in most of our barrels, the heads are toasted only; they're not charred. So that gives us the both profiles of toasted barrels and charred barrels at the same time. So
Are you tipsy asked earlier about triple barreling? Have you ever done anything like that?
I honestly
He's
don't
asking
think.
a lot. He's like, I could
Yeah,
do
yeah,
it for a single barrel. I mean, it's kind of high maintenance, you know?
yeah. No, we can answer any question. So I don't think I will ever do that. It doesn't really make sense. Um, we've done some double oaked, and they were very successful. They're fun to do, but they're not really necessary when you have good whiskey. And you lose a lot of volume. So every time you move whiskey from barrel to barrel, you lose 10% of your volume, sometimes more, because that oak is dry. It's going to absorb tremendous amount of liquid water molecules, and before the oak absorb that liquid or water, it's going to allow a lot of evaporation to happen until the oak is swelled up and seasoned or saturated with water. So typically, if you have good whiskey, you can double oak it. It does get richer and heavier and boldier, sweeter a lot of times, and darker. Third barrel, I think it's overkill.
Um, what do you what does the next few years look like? I mean, I know you just got into this new warehouse and I know you put a bar in it. I wasn't in your old one, but you're like in cocktail world now, which is like my favorite space to be in. So I'm looking forward to seeing
Uh,
that. But
yeah, actually, I don't think we're gonna be doing much cocktails, if any. So the last facility was very small. We weren't able to have hours because we're very new as well. You know, we didn't have the customer base that we do have now. And a lot of people start asking us, well, I already been on the trail for a few days. I don't really want to do another tour. I just want to try the product, sample it,
okay. So it's a tasting
and
bar.
move on. So will you build a bar just for that? So we build a nice bar that seats 8 or 10 people, and we will be able, once we get open to the public without appointment only, we'll have the door opens from 10:30 to 4:30. So you can come. You can walk in basically anytime, sip on 1 or 2 pours, or get a flight of certain bourbons or bourbon and whiskey, and then be able to pick up something from the gift shop. So that's what the bar is for.
Okay, that makes more sense. Obviously, see, I was like, oh, we're having a bar. We're making old fashions and
We can definitely. Well, how about you making us some old fashioned next week?
don't.
I'll
Yeah, I
provide the
will be
whiskey.
right back there, and I will make them for whoever wants them. It's one of my favorite things.
Let's
I know
do
how
it.
to do it. I know how to do it.
I'll get the ingredients.
Let's go. I got some good stuff too I can bring. Hey, I just want to say that I think it's a really cool touch with the bags that you put your bottles in. What every single bottle comes in a bag. Is that right?
Single barrels.
Single barrels only? Okay. And
Yeah.
then I just think that's such a cool touch. I haven't seen too much of that, and it's cool to see them. I mean, we go up to a handy spot and see them sitting on the counter when there are some, and he's got them in the bags, and it just looks like such an elevated look for your bottles too. So
Yeah. We thought about boxes and we thought about tubes and then we thought about the bags and they made more sense. They're very elegant. They don't take space. Uh,
yeah, that's a good point. They don't
yeah,
have to store them as much.
and
That's
people love them. I mean,
But
we
yeah,
get people asking us, "Hey, well, we have batch 1 and 2, and they don't come with a bag. Can I get one?" I'm like, "Stop by, get one." Like, people love small touches like that. So,
for sure. Oh, see, people are saying, "Oh yeah, they love that." Very
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So many other things you can use them for. So, what's next? I keep wondering, are you looking to expand more barrels? Is that kind of the goal to have more barrels in the space? Is it to have a bigger footprint, obviously, in the different states? Are you just looking to create more experiences there? I mean, what's kind of the big dream over the next, 1 or 3
So
years?
now we have moved to kind of like our, forever home. Uh,
Mhm. Sorry.
and the move is like out of the way now. It's been a very long move. We start moving last August, and I literally got my desk uh, 2 weeks ago from the old warehouse. So it's been a long move. So the move is behind us. We are in fantastic, phenomenal facility that I always dreamed of. So now, we're gonna continue to put good expressions. We're gonna continue to push the limit and bring like those good pours to every bar out there. The goal is to have our whiskey available to more people out there. I mean, we're barely even in the states that we're in, like Illinois and Indiana. You don't see us in every shelf, so we're very, very limited, very small. So we'd like to see more, more store carrying it, different area of the country have access to it. So I think growing a little bit more and maybe pay for the renovation in this building and
Yeah, probably. I mean,
healthy growth. So
I'm looking at your online list too. If like when somebody says, what do I start with? Which ones of these are you usually recommending to them that they can find? You're like,
yeah.
what do you suggest? You've got some cool stuff on here. You said
So if
barrel.
you if you have in your market Old Louisville's available, 8 and 9 years old batches. And there's a couple colors. There's the 8 year blue label, which is traditional bourbon, corn, and rye. And then we have 8, 9, and 10 years old wheated bourbon, corn, wheat, and malted barley. So these two, if you find them on the shelf, it depends what area of the country and what the retailer is selling them for. Anywhere from $79 to $89 in that range. That's a good start to learn or start, tasting some of Old Louisville expressions. Most of our batches are 5 to 10 barrels, so they're very, very small micro batches. Uh, and they're classic, everything you expect from a good bourbon. It's aged for 8 to 9 years old. It's uncut and filtered. We don't add any water to our Old Louisville label. Everything is cast strength.
Oh, that's
Um,
I didn't know that.
non-chill filtered, so we don't maneuver the whiskey in any way possible. Like most times, if you see our bottles on the shelf and they've been there for over a week, you'll see some char on the bottom building up because we don't maneuver it. Like you're getting true straight from the barrel whiskey from us.
That's
It's
like,
oily, it's viscous.
yeah, gold. You just can find something with a little bit in the bottom. Everyone's like, yeah, I want all that in there.
Yeah, yeah.
So we've got 10 more minutes. I want to kind of talk about the event that we have coming up, and then we like that oily mouthfeel. That's right. We what to expect, and then I also kind of wanted to find out from a pro that lives there. A bunch of us are coming in town that don't living in that area. Where do you suggest we go for dinners and cocktails? If you were going to pick
So
this,
the event is Friday from what time to what time?
it's 7 o'clock until you tell us to leave.
Okay.
And so some of us are coming in, and then yeah, I know that we're doing like three things. We're doing a tour, we're doing a tasting, and then I think there was like three groups, and then one of them was in your tasting
And
area.
we have 50 people, right?
We have less than that, but we can talk
Okay.
about all that stuff in a minute. But
Okay. So, I mean, obviously, you're coming to Louisville. There is no shortage of good places to go drink whiskey.
yeah,
We also very foodie town. We have a lot of good restaurants, a lot of high-end known chefs in town. Friday, I mean, if you're going to eat, I highly recommend going to eat before you come to the facility.
yes,
So,
that's probably the safest bet for everyone to
yeah,
eat.
yeah, yeah. So you're
Everything's girl
basically
food.
between,
Everything's girl.
yeah. So I mean, you can have dinner downtown or somewhere in the East End around 5:30. We're 5 minutes south of downtown from Main Street, so we're very, very close to downtown. We do have plenty of parking spots, so you don't have to worry about that. So there's plenty of good places to eat. North of Bourbon is one of my favorite places to go eat. Downtown, there's few places to eat and drink. Merle's downtown is great. Depends really what do you wanna,
Yeah,
what do you wanna eat?
far from
Cocktails,
downtown.
Seven Cocktail Bar is one of the best in the Nulu Market area. Tartan House is another one.
I went to 7 last time I was in 2 nights in a row,
Yeah,
and it is really cool, and it's
yeah.
got a lot of cool vintage bottles. They're doing some really cool stuff in there, so that might be worth another visit. I might have to try it one more time. Yeah. Um, but it's nice to know that you're close. Lots of cool cocktail bars, and then when we get there, you're gonna give everyone that's there a little bit of history, kind of like what we did, just like a short intro. We'll do some tasting, and we'll do a tour, right?
Yeah, so what are we gonna do? Depends on the size of the group.
Mhm. I have to look at tickets. We have another week. We're stopping tickets like on
Yeah.
Friday, so
So
and we're
we will see,
almost
how many people are gonna end up coming. If it's 50 people, we'll do two groups. If it's less than that, we'll see if we can do one group. So we have plenty of seating in a new facility. We can comfortably seat 50 to 60 people. Everybody have plenty of space. We'll do a welcome cocktail or welcome pour. And then we talk a little bit about the facility, how we do things, kind of like basically summarize everything we have been talking about in the last hour. And then we step into the warehouse. There's a glass wall, so you can see, even if you stay, if we split the group, you see the group going to the warehouse, leaving straight from the barrel, tasting some barrels, and then we'll swap between the front room and the facility or the warehouse. We will have cash bar, so you can drink more if you want to. We have a gift shop. You can shop around for bottles, for merchandise, whatever you guys want to do. And then, we'll have fun. So,
cool. And it's what's cool about their warehouse is like right where you had tasting set up right by the barrels. I mean, the barrels are right there. You're
Yeah.
basically going to be standing in them. And
In the rick house. Yeah.
hey, Blue Gas Barrel Picker said, definitely eat before you go. He puts you to the test. Noted. Everybody must eat, and you have to prove that you had dinner before you come in the door. Now, right? Or we
Well,
have
I mean, you don't have to. It will be your fault if you don't.
yeah, you'll have 3. You'll try 3, and you won't remember the other 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go, Joe Tucker. So anything else we should know? We've only got a few minutes. Any other questions? Anybody gets things in? Anything unexpected or any cool stories about people you've met or some of your, some of your favorite brands that you think are really doing it right? Anything surprising we would want to know about you that would be fun facts? Have you had any like big celebrities or anything ever come in, or people really want to see your
Oh, we actually had the celebrity recently. Well, not recently. He came to the old facility a year or two ago. His name is George, but he goes by King of Miami. So if you ever watch the YouTube channel, or actually is on Netflix series, he was one of the OGs cocaine dealers in the 80s. So he's definitely a famous celebrity guy out there, and we're gonna do collaboration bourbon for him. He did pick a barrel. We're gonna bottle it under his label. That's kind of interesting story to hear him.
does
Obviously, he doesn't do what he did in the 80s anymore, but he actually got his PhD and his a different man.
Yeah, I bet. I was gonna say, like, how messed up are your taste buds for doing so much in
And
the
then
80s?
Tipsy also. Tipsy, he was a
Oh yeah,
celebrity.
he
He came.
sure you say it one more time. He just kind of celebrity. Every time I go somewhere, if he's had a single barrel, they'll know exactly who he is. So yeah, that's great.
But
Well,
yeah, looking forward to host you guys next Friday.
we're really looking
Um,
forward to it. Just let everybody know that watches this. We have a special access code, gets you $25 off the bundle. So we're going to Old Lou at 7:00 on Friday. And then we have an event at Larrikin in Lawrenceburg at 2:00 on Saturday. And we have a bundle deal for anybody that wants to come on Friday and Saturday. And just for tuning in, we're going to give everyone a discount too on those tickets, which would be great. And we'll catch you up on the total, how many we have sold on Friday or Saturday this week when we get through our push. But we're really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to coming back. I've been looking forward since I've been there when you just had concrete on the floor and see what's going on there.
yeah.
Really appreciate your time. We all appreciate your time and just really appreciate what you're doing in the industry. It's really cool to see the tradition and just sticking true to what it's really all about, which is just really good bourbon. So
That's right. Cheers. Cheers to that.
Yeah. Thanks everybody. I think that we're good and we will see everyone on Friday.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you, Amine.
Thank you, guys.